The early morning air was crisp as Sarah Martinez stepped onto the city bus, her worn canvas bag weighing heavy on her shoulder. The familiar scent of coffee and diesel fuel mixed in the cool dawn light filtering through the windows. She moved, slowly down the narrow aisle, her tired eyes scanning for an empty seat. It had been another sleepless night. Her 6-year-old daughter Emma had come down with a fever, and Sarah had spent most of the dark hours checking temperatures and offering comfort. Now, with Emma safely at her mother's house for the day, Sarah faced the long commute to her second job at the downtown office building. The bus was fuller than usual for a Tuesday morning. Sarah's shoulders sagged as she realized most seats were taken. Working double shifts at the diner and cleaning offices had become her routine since the divorce, but her body was beginning to protest the endless cycle of exhaustion. Near the back, she spotted a seat next to a man in a charcoal grey suit. He sat quietly, his dark hair neatly styled, reading something on his phone. There was something peaceful about his presence that drew her toward the empty space beside him. "Excuse me," Sarah said softly, gesturing toward the seat. The man looked up, revealing kind brown eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Of course," he said, shifting slightly to give her more room. Sarah settled into the worn fabric seat with a quiet sigh of relief. The bus lurched forward, beginning its slow journey through the awakening city. Through the window, she watched. Early commuters hurrying along sidewalks, their breath visible in small clouds in the morning chill. The gentle rocking motion of the bus was hypnotic. Sarah tried to stay alert, but her eyelids grew heavy as the vehicle swayed through traffic. The warmth from the heater mixed with her exhaustion, creating a cocoon of drowsiness she couldn't fight. Her head began to nod forward, then sideways. Without realizing it, she leaned against the stranger's shoulder. The soft wool of his suit jacket was comfortable against her cheek, and for the first time in weeks, Sarah felt truly at peace. The man beside her noticed immediately but didn't pull away. Instead, he carefully adjusted his position to make her more comfortable. Then, returned to his phone with a gentle smile. There was something about her tired face that reminded him of his own struggles years ago when he was working multiple jobs to support his family. The bus continued its route through the city, stopping and starting in the familiar rhythm of morning traffic. Other passengers came and went, but the man remained still, careful not to disturb the sleeping woman beside him. Sarah's dreams were peaceful for once. She dreamed of Emma laughing in a sunny park, of bills that paid themselves, of Saturday mornings without the sound of alarm clocks. The stress lines around her eyes softened as she slept against the stranger's shoulder. 45 minutes later, Sarah began to stir as the bus approached downtown. Her eyes fluttered open slowly, and she felt the soft fabric beneath her cheek. Confusion gave way to horror as she realized where she was. "Oh my goodness!" she gasped, jerking upright. "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. I must have fallen asleep." Her face flushed red with embarrassment. She had been so tired that she had actually slept on a complete stranger's shoulder. What must he think of her? The man turned to her with the same kind eyes she had noticed earlier. "Please don't apologize," he said gently. "You looked like you needed the rest." Sarah fumbled with her bag, preparing to stand. "I can't believe I did that. You must think I think you're someone who works very hard," he interrupted, softly, "and sometimes we all need a moment of peace." The sincerity in his voice made Sarah pause. She looked at him more carefully, noticing the expensive watch on his wrist and the quality of his suit. Everything about him spoke of success and wealth, yet there was no judgment in his expression. "I have 2 jobs," she found herself saying. "My daughter was sick last night, and I haven't been sleeping well, but that's no excuse for—" "Your stop is coming up," he observed, glancing out the window at the approaching business district. Sarah nodded, standing as the bus began to slow. "Thank you for being so kind about this. Most people would have woken me up immediately." As she moved toward the front of the bus, the man called out quietly, "Wait!" Sarah turned back, her hand on the metal pole for balance. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card. "I know this might sound strange, but I own several companies downtown. One of them is always looking for good people. In administration, the hours are better than most places, and there's health insurance." Sarah stared at the card in his outstretched hand. "I don't understand." "Sometimes we recognize something in others," he said simply. "You remind me of my mother. She worked 3 jobs to keep us going when I was young. I learned later that the kindness of strangers made all the difference in her life." The bus came to a complete stop, and other passengers began moving toward the exit. Sarah took the card with trembling fingers. The name printed on it read, "David Chen, CEO, Chen Holdings." "Call the number," David said as Sarah stepped into the aisle. "Ask for Maria in Human Resources. Tell her I sent you." Sarah looked back at him through the crowd of departing passengers. "Why would you do this for someone you don't even know?" David's smile was warm and genuine, because sometimes a single moment of trust can change everything. "You trusted me enough to rest. Now I'd like to help you rest a little easier." As Sarah stepped off the bus into the crisp morning air, she clutched the business card tightly. The simple act of falling asleep on a stranger's shoulder had somehow opened a door she never expected to find. Behind her, through the bus window, she saw David Chen watching her with encouragement in his eyes. He raised his hand in a small wave before the bus pulled away into traffic. Sarah stood on the sidewalk for a long moment, reading the card again. Then she pulled out her phone, and for the first time in months felt something she had almost forgotten. Hope. The morning sun climbed higher in the sky, warming her face as she walked toward her current job. But now, instead of feeling trapped in an endless cycle of exhaustion, she felt the possibility of change. Sometimes, she realized, the most unexpected moments of human connection could light the path towards something better. And it had all started with a simple act of falling. Asleep on a stranger's shoulder,